Today for Devotions with Daniella, we are reading White Women Get Ready, How Healing Post-Traumatic Mistress Syndrome Leads to Anti-Racist Change. I'm reading through this book for my own practice of deconstructing the delusion of white supremacy, and if you would like to read it along with me, you can get copies attached here. This is Chapter 7, The Great White Mother Knows Best. These women guaranteed that racial segregation seeped into the nooks and crannies of public life and private matters, of congressional campaigns and PTA meetings, of cotton policy and household economies, of textbook debates and daycare decisions. White women were the mass in massive resistance. Elizabeth Gillespie McCrae. These mothers, victims themselves, have unwittingly become wounded wounders. Sue Monk Kidd. At the time of writing this book, I do not have children, nor do I plan to. While some of my classmates drafted long lists of baby names, I found parenting play odd. I did not have a list of potential names amongst the pages of my diary, nor had I fantasized about having children of my own. In fact, except for a 3-year window in my early 30s, this disinterest in parenting continued into my adulthood. Don't let my desire for childlessness fool you. I love kids. I am proud to be an aunt in keeping with my namesake and have been helping to raise children younger than myself since I was 1, back in my Atlanta church nursery. Still, being an aunt, through my family of origin and chosen community, is very different than being a parent, which is why I have hesitated to write about mistress syndrome and parenting. I planned on avoiding the topic altogether until Felicia, a parent of 2 and community mother to many, pressed me to reconsider. I see white women raising Black children everywhere, she said to me, her pain becoming clearer as she mentioned the young white couple who'd recently moved in next door, appearing one spring day with their deeply melanated infant. As they paraded around the gentrifying neighborhood, their child tucked securely in the posh stroller, they seemed unaware of what they were bringing up for their Black neighbors. They seemed equally unaware of the racialized harms they might end up causing their child in their own home. In my organizing with other white ladies, parenting is one of the most volatile topics we discuss. Parents are often emotionally tired and physically sleep-deprived from the daily and lifelong grind of being responsible for another human's well-being. In our individualistic society, we have few parental supports, yet very high demands. Parents, especially mothers, receive unsolicited pressure and advice about their parenting from a wide spectrum of advisors, from close confidants to strangers on the street. That mothers specifically have been told, both implicitly and explicitly, that their children's behavior directly reflects their moral competence is one part of our mistress syndrome inheritance. Historically, this moral competence was measured by the plantation's mistress's ability to control her household, children included, just as today's mothers are expected to effortlessly keep everyone happy, healthy, and well-behaved. Add in the devaluation of reproductive labor, and I get why conversations about parenting incite defensiveness. I also don't know the details of your unique story. If you are a parent, I don't know how you became one and why, or the details about with whom you may or may not parent, and how that relationship impacts your parenting. What I do know is that in the past few decades, a lot of white people, and white women in particular, have become parents to children of color. I know too that many of these parents are new to thinking deeply about their children's race, and moreover, new to thinking deeply about their own. I also know from my experience organizing with young people that many youth who realize the painful realities of racism in adolescence have been ill-prepared for these realizations and often have little to no support to talk honestly and deeply about race with white parents at home, especially when this means confronting the racism in how they were raised. With celebrities making transracial international adoption trendy, with the rise of fetishizing people of the global majority and appropriating their cultures, with saving children becoming a way to virtue signal generosity, Amy Coney Barrett. Clarifying the connection between mistress syndrome and parenting is unfortunately unavoidable. Since the invention of race, the reality of white women raising children of color has not been warm and fuzzy. It is a history that impacts the way we parent today, and one that I have rarely heard white parents consider. Before the Civil War, there was sometimes a small degree of tolerance for illicit liaisons between white women and black men. But that tolerance ended the moment children came into the picture. Children from these liaisons formed a direct threat to race-based slavery, especially when born to a white mother. According to Hodes, it was the presence of free children that precipitated a local crisis. Hodes further explains, the children of white women and black men were of partial African ancestry, but also free, thereby violating the equation of blackness and slavery. For the children who grew up free and black, their very existence challenged white patriarchal norms. Within this fraught context, white women responded to getting pregnant by black men in a variety of ways. In many of the cases Hodes highlight, they responded in ways that protected their whiteness first and their children second, frequently accusing the father of rape. A horrendous, little discussed part of our history is that when faced with bearing a non-white child, white women were known to leave newborns at church doorsteps, commit infanticide, and sell their own children into slavery. We have yet to acknowledge these painful parts of our legacies. We have yet to even begin to grieve them. In cases when white women kept and raised their children of mixed African and European ancestry, their families were pushed to the far margins of white society and endured a distinctive set of economic and social hardships.